everybody, welcome back to the Anxious Love Coach YouTube channel. My name is Natalie Kennedy and I'm the CEO and founder of Anxious Love Coach, as well as the host of the Anxious Love Coach podcast. If you haven't found that yet, it's my jam. I love podcasting. I get a little nervous in front of the camera, especially when there's no one watching. It's kind of weird. All right, today I want to talk about why you might be experiencing relationship anxiety. And the way I am defining relationship anxiety in this context is when you are hyper-focused on the state of the relationship, even when it is healthy. So this might look like you're having an ordinary dinner with your partner and they don't look super hot in that moment, and you start freaking out about you not being attracted to your partner and wondering if you're falling out of love, and if you're with the wrong person and you're wasting your time and dragging them along and you're a terrible partner for staying even though you're not feeling totally attracted to them. Or sometimes, you're watching Netflix with your partner and they just get up to go to the bathroom and they don't look you in the eye, and so you freak out that they don't love you. Even though they're just going to the bathroom, it literally means absolutely nothing, but we make it mean something. So assuming that we're in an otherwise healthy relationship with someone that really values you and you find yourself constantly nitpicking at them all the time, controlling what they do, feeling really out of control inside, even though externally everything seems to be fine. We have this disconnect between how we feel and what's happening externally. And this can cause us to feel like there's something deeply wrong with us. We can feel a lot of shame. If you've ever confessed your thoughts to your partner, like, I don't know if I loved you. I've done that before many years ago when I was in the thick of this. We can feel terribly guilty for putting our partners through this. And we feel this pressure to fix ourselves because we think that we're broken, because we're worried that we're putting so much pain on our partners. So I want to get a little bit suspicious today about this idea that there's something wrong with you, because in most cases, of course, there are people who are just kind of wired for overthinking, although even arguably that, I think, could be a defense mechanism. But there are some people who apparently are just wired that way. But for me, it's very useful to look at the root of things and get a little curious about, maybe this isn't you being broken. Maybe this is you having an adaptation to a past environment that actually was very useful at one point. It can also be an internalization of other people's opinions, which could have been your parents, your peers, bullies, the media, cultural conditioning that has taught you not to trust yourself in many areas of your life, let alone in your relationship. So let's talk today about some reasons why you might be having a lot of doubts and uncertainty and a lack of trust around your decisions in relationships. Number one, it's worth addressing traumas that can cause us to feel preoccupied with the state of the relationship. If you had a lot of divorces in your past, whether that was your parents or you witnessed a lot of other parents, or just simply knowing the statistic of how high the divorce rate is, or maybe your parents were together but had a relationship that you thought was pretty terrible, especially if you were comparing it to like Disney movies or The Notebook or Titanic. If you have an idealized idea of what a marriage looks like, and if you perceive that a divorce means a failed relationship or a failure at relationships in general, that if you have a belief that getting divorced means I sucked, I picked the wrong partner, rather than relationships come and they go and they sometimes end and sometimes they're amazing and then they fall apart and nobody really knows what they're doing on this planet. If you have a belief that divorce is wrong, you might put pressure on yourself to never get divorced. Maybe you had a terrible divorce and you're determined to never have a divorce, and you're determined to get it right, and you're determined to see all the red flags and prevent it. And that's like your focus in relationships, is making sure there's no red flags, making sure it's healthy, making sure it's perfect. And that's a lot of pressure to put on your partner And it's also a lot of pressure to put on yourself. So one reason we might feel relationship anxiety is because we've put some unconscious pressure on ourselves for our relationships to look and feel a certain way. I think divorces and are a big factor of today. Knowing the statistics makes people very frightened to commit. Makes sense. The second reason we might find ourselves having a lot of anxiety around relationships is the fact that today, more than any other time in history, you have way more choices. There is a whole study, I don't know which one it is, talking about the paradox of choice and the fact that we actually become more and more and more unhappy the more choices we have past a certain extent. It can cause us to feel paralyzed, and it causes us to have more fear of making the wrong choice. Today, you can swipe through thousands of people on Tinder or Bumble or any of these apps. You can swipe through thousands of people in a single city, which leads us to always know that there's gonna be someone better out there. Our grandparents, our great-grandparents, they could choose between like John the Butcher and like Bob the Carpenter, and those were your two choices. So you picked one and that's just what you did. And back then, people did not get married so much for love. It was more a business agreement. There's actually a beautiful podcast I recorded with my aunt a long time ago. Believe it or not, it's one of the most loved podcasts that's ever been recorded. So make sure you check out the Anxious Love Coach podcast. I'm not sure which episode that is, but my editor, please link that in the section notes below. That is a great episode. Marriage used to not be for love. It was an arrangement. Now people want to marry for love. And we've got like infinite numbers of choices. So of course we're going to put pressure on ourselves to meet this ideal. And we're putting pressure on ourselves to like fit this, we're trying to optimize our relationships in the same way we optimize our finances and our career. We're trying to optimize our phone. We're trying to like hack relationships. And humans are super flawed, and therefore they're not really hackable, especially in the context of relationships. And the last reason, I think, is a culture that teaches us to A, not trust ourselves, and B, look for happiness outside of yourself. So if you had a lot of messages that taught you what you should wear, what you should look like, how you should dress, what you should eat, and basically set you up to feel like you're not enough, you are going to start looking outside of yourself to feel like you're enough. And guess what? Your relationship's going to fall under that line of fire, that line of thinking. And really, we are taught today that happiness lies outside of ourselves, whether that's in a product or a partner. And I think when we start putting all this pressure on our partner to make us happy, they're not going to measure up. Heck, I can't even make myself happy sometimes. So how can I expect my partner to be able to make me happy all the time too? That's not to say pick a partner who has absolutely no interest in adding value to your life. It's not that. It's more like your partner is there by your side, living life with you. They're in their path and their process, and you're on your path and your process. Where you guys start mingling paths and trying to manipulate each other's paths so that you can feel better about your choice, I think that can make you both very miserable and resentful. So my relationship with my partner, Preston, staying in my lane, focusing on my process and letting him be in his, it's not a perfect science. I fuck it up all the time. But for the most part, I've started to realize that trying to manipulate who he is does not make me a better person. And so it's actually much more empowering to trust that he's the wise one in his own process, and to just stay in my own lane, focus on me, focus on me. It's like we focus on ourselves when we're single, and then magically when we're in relationship, we expect that we don't have to focus on ourselves anymore. That doesn't mean be completely independent, but rather choose interdependence and be able to meet your needs in ways outside of your relationship. I have a whole podcast episode on how I actually don't believe your partner should meet all or even most of your needs. I think that's a lot to ask one person to meet most of your needs, because they've got their own needs that they've got to meet. And we're especially in the Western world, we're a very independent society. So yeah, Being in a society that teaches you not to trust yourself and therefore your decisions about relationship, that's one. And being in a society that teaches you that your happiness is outside of yourself. Again, that's not to say be basically completely single and never expect your partner to meet your needs. I don't believe in either of these extremes, but most people I know today who are unhappy in their relationships are looking for their partner to complete them, fill some kind of void, or when they're unhappy, they're looking for their partner to make them happy, when it really doesn't work like that. You are two separate humans on two separate paths that are just happen to be living life side by side, adding value to one another. So get happy yourself. Do things that make you happy. Make sure you're following your passions. Make sure you are not really paying attention to any messaging out there that's saying you're not enough, and working on your self-esteem. And I promise you that that will start spilling over into your relationship a heck of a lot more if you are satisfied with who you are inside. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed that today for the 3 reasons why you might be experiencing relationship anxiety. Of course, there are many other factors like deep trauma, attachment wounds, like those things matter as well. But for generic relationship anxiety that I think so many or majority of people I know, especially in their 20s and even 30s and teens who are experiencing this, it's worth realizing that relationship anxiety in relationships has more to do with, is a byproduct of what's important to millennials today and less to do with the fact that you're a terrible partner for having doubts. So I hope that that's been helpful. We have some amazing resources at Anxious Love Coach. And my co-coach, whose name is Sheridan, we run a group program. We have an online course. I also have an option to ever pick my brain for $30. If you follow me on Instagram, there's a link in there and lots of resources. So make sure you follow me on Instagram and TikTok. If you like this video, please like it, comment, let me know what you think, and make sure you subscribe. Much love and take care. Thank you.